Brilliant. According to the screen, we are live and broadcasting. Hello. I'm just
hello,
sort
newcomer
of,
folks. Oh, hello, Helen.
That's woken me up, seeing how many people are already here, already and waiting. Kate, Helen, Alison, and Helen again. Christmas. Brilliant. Thanks for being there, ready and waiting. It's very reassuring. Hi, David. I've seen stuff from David that David sent recently, which is again off the scale, above and beyond the call as far as
yes. I tell you
creating
what,
things is
that if we ever have the zombie apocalypse or anything like that, I want David on my team.
Okay. Yeah, one thing being able to make stuff, it's another being able to use stuff. So we'll have to have training in that next. Anyway, I'm glad to see, Rupert, that your... Hi, Nigel. I'm glad to see, Rupert, that your signal, now we've gone live, seems to have cleaned up a bit. Maybe it's just because you've gone small. I don't know.
It's probably because I've gone small. I don't know. It's too weird. You know, folks, that we always have this issue of me being fuzzy. And so I use a 4G hotspot. Yes. So I use a 4G hotspot for all our broadcasts and stuff because it's quicker. We did a speed test about half an hour ago, and my upload speed is actually faster than Michael's. So don't understand why I'm fuzzy. Don't understand it at all.
Hi, class. Good to see you, Vicky.
Hi, class.
Excellent. For all those wondering, thinking, well, why is it so hard in this day and age to get, good internet or whatever to Rupert? We always say, he lives in rural France. Added to that, he lives halfway up a mountain, He's not...
It's true.
Yeah. He's not in the actual village that is his local village. He's outside the village, away from the main road, up a dirt track, Well, sorry to disrespect
you call
your
it my
track.
path of dirt track?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It is true.
So it's not as straightforward. And I have to say, how many times have engineers been and gone, looked, tried things and gone away scratching their heads?
Oh, yeah, I gave up. Orange kept on saying that I could have fibre. And it's at least 20 times I've had the engineers over that they were going to do it. And it was the classic sharp intake of breath and, no, we need a team. And they've taken photographs of everything because there's basically we've got.
Just going to say hello to Joris. Guten Abend, I should say, and welcome again, Nelly. Yeah, gluttons for punishment. Good to see you again. Sorry, Rupert.
No, it's all right. No, I've got telegraph poles that come from the road. They come up my land, and then it gets to the other side of my main field. And from there it goes underground to the house. And they come up and they take photographs of it and they send the photographs back to the office. And a week goes by and I get a message saying, we'll come and fit your fibre. And the team come and sharp it and take a breath and they go away again. 20 times that happened over about 2.5 years. And in the end I just cancelled the order because I was getting so annoyed because I have to wait in for them every time. And it's just a waste of time. So it'll happen eventually, but for the time being, we're stuck with fuzzy Soskin.
Hi there, John. Good to see you from Michigan. And Nigel, of course. I said hello to Nigel. Yes, I have. And Chris, good to see you too.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, Nigel. I don't even know that. I mean, my upload speed, I've got nearly. What did I say it was, Mike?
Well, it's obviously is irrelevant to what's going on.
Yeah, I mean the upload speed is crazy. I'm not sure that Starlink would sort it, but
anyway, we're close to actually going live and starting the show.
At least you can hear me.
Well, almost. Yes, I just turned you up a bit. 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome, greetings. Welcome to a Prehistory Guys Unplugged. This is live for our Patreon folk, and this is a recording if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm sure you'll have had the nous to skip to the 5-minute mark without having to dredge through the countdown if you're watching the recording. But welcome, however you're watching this on YouTube. Welcome. As you probably know, unless you're absolutely fresh to the channel, my name is Michael Bott, and
my name is Rupert Soskin. Hello.
Pay attention, Soskin. Yes.
Fuzzy Soskin, yes.
Fuzzy Soskin. We've just been discussing the state of your internet, which unfortunately nothing can be done about for the moment, so just have to bear with it. It is what it is. So we've got a packed show ready for you tonight. I mean, tonight will be mainly about news. I mean, this Unplugged is mainly driven by whatever's come up in the past few weeks, past weeks or so, about what's been going on in the world of prehistoric archaeology. So if that's your bag, you're in the right place. Rupert, what we got in store tonight going on?
Oh, wow. We've got some lovely stuff tonight. We've got some rock art Germany. And we've got an interesting new paper about possible reasons for cultural collapse. You know, we do see settlements expanding over time and then just seeming to disappear without trace. So there's a new paper about that, which is not altogether a surprise, but it's an interesting paper all the same. The first wheel. There's a new paper about the possibility of when the first wheel was invented.
Yes.
We have
new stuff from Serbia.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Which is that's an interesting one. We've got Bulgaria. We're going over to Bulgaria.
What are you reading?
Very interesting. What?
What are you reading?
Bettany. Bettany.
Magura. Bettany?
Bettany Hughes.
Bettany Hughes. You're confusing me. Okay. Yes, Bettany Hughes in Bulgaria, at Magura Cave. Bet nobody's ever heard of that, but I thought it worthwhile running past you.
And a very interesting, unusual form of rock art in there as well. And an interesting thing. I'm not going to do a spoiler. We've got an interesting piece of news about prehistoric amber as well. I rather like this one. And new findings on Bodmin as well in Cornwall.
Okay.
So we are leaping around the place today. We are, as usual.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's anything else to tell the good folks in the meantime. I hope you're all very well out there. So settle in, and if we remember anything else to tell you, like housekeeping and stuff like that, I can't think there's anything. If you're all settled in, we'll kick off with the first article, and I'll put it up on the screen so we can all read it together. It says, engravings from nearly 16,000 years ago peel back the curtain on ancient European society. Hundreds of stones found with etchings reveal practices of the Stone Age Magdalenians. Ignore that bit. Researchers are learning more about ancient Central Europe society thanks to stones from thousands of years ago. A team of international scientists analysed markings made on more than 400 stone plaquettes that date back 15,800 years and uncovered something not previously known during the final period of the Stone Age. I have to do a bit of quick correction there on what they've said. This is not talking about the final period of the Stone Age. They should have... Where was your editor or whatever? The stones were etched with depictions of ancient fishing practices that had not been recorded in the Upper Paleolithic era, which is not the end of the Stone Age. Well, the end of a Stone Age, I suppose, but not the Stone Age. Revealing that people used nets to catch fish. Ancient artifacts were found at the German Gunnersdorf site. Do I get that right, gentlemen? Yes.
Class, I'm sure Class will correct us.
Gunnersdorf site, which is one of the two major Magdalenian settlements in Western Germany's central Rhineland. The Magdalenians are recognized as hunters and artists and produced cave paintings with bison and engravings and etchings of headless female forms. They were uncovered on the northern bank of the Rhine River and had been protected by volcanic ash. They, not the Magdalenians, these bits of stone which we're talking about.
Yes.
So while fishing likely played a role across many societies in this age, direct artistic depictions of the activity are rare. Fish bones had been found across various locations, indicating this was a significant part of their diets. Interestingly, he says, until this discovery, no direct depictions of net fishing had been identified in Paleolithic art, Dr. Jerome Robitaille told The Independent on Tuesday. This depiction marks Gunnersdorf as the only known upper Paleolithic site in Europe and possibly worldwide that visually represents net fishing practices. Before I proceed, I just want to fill in a few things. We've been throwing about the term Magdalenian about. I just want to, because I don't think the article itself places this quite so well as it should. The Magdalenian culture lasted from about 17,000 to 12,000 years ago. And named for the Magdalene rock shelter, which is in France in the Dordogne area. Is that right, Rupert?
It is. It's about 4 hours from me, maybe 5.
Okay, yeah, a bit north of you.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are various artifacts associated with this culture, which once upon a time, believe it or not, that's little sidebar here, that they were originally named, the culture was originally named L'Âge du Renne, or the Age of the Reindeer, because they apparently drew a lot of reindeer, and evidence is they were hunting a lot of reindeer. But they also were actually pretty good artists. And I'm just going to, I think, hopefully that's... Oh, there we go. No, wrong one. Oh, that is a picture of the actual...
that's a fish in a net.
Things that we're actually talking about. But what I was going to show you was this more generally of... I mean, get an eyeful of that. That was discovered not in the... I don't think it was discovered in the Magdalene cave dwellings at all. But this is attributed to the Magdalenian culture. And
it's one of the caves. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Oh,
yeah.
Well, it was in a cave. Yeah.
But these are actually quite sizable sculptures in the ground clay there in the cave. Actually, there was an exhibition at the British Museum some years ago, and it was the principal thing you saw as you came in. Somebody reproduced it, and it was absolutely stunning to be close up to. But look at the detail in them, and it's no mean feat to achieve the character of a beast like that, without some kind of some real skills going on. Anyway, I've digressed slightly, but we might come back to that in a little while. So while fish had been identified among the engravings on the plaquettes, these scientists used an advanced imaging technique to find an additional 7 plaquettes with fish or lemon-like shapes. All 7 new fish are depicted in association with lines arranged in a grid-like pattern, in addition to a fish that had been previously identified. Just to say, I haven't read the report in full, the paper in full, but it is very thorough. The image I'm about to show you of the plaque, which I slipped in accidentally to begin with, is only one of many that they looked at. So this is
400.
quite thorough. Thank you for that. This is quite a fulsome study. So the researchers used something called reflectance transformation imaging to examine the plaquettes, which is a technology that allows researchers to analyze surface details with precise clarity and reveals intricate line work. Let me get the picture up so that it makes sense of what I'm talking about. Not that one, this one. Intricate line work. And I've lost my place. This is interesting. While these engravings depict fishing nets and fish, this is a quote. While these engravings depict fishing nets and fish, the minimalist and abstract style, emphasizing essential geometric shapes over detailed realism, suggests that the focus may not have been solely on fishing as a subsistence activity, Robert Tile explained. Instead, likely represents the cultural or symbolic significance that fishing held within Magdalenian society.
Yeah.
Crickets for a moment, or...
Well, do you know what? I think, with all due respect, that I think academics sometimes go off on one a little bit. When you look at
being
rock
very
art,
kind.
I am being very kind. But when you look at rock art through the ages, and you can see that same as today, some people are good at art and some people are rubbish. It's just the way it is. And I do think that that sometimes they look at certain aspects of art and just go ritual when it's just.
Like I said to you earlier, Rupert, and you just look at this. Okay, I don't think there were many choices involved here. What I say is, really. Here's a piece of stone. Here's another piece of stone. Now go and make me a realistic drawing of a fish and a net using the stone and the stone that I've given you. Yeah. Dream on.
But the other thing is that if you look at the scale, the bottom of that picture, you can see that it's there you are. You have a centimetre marking there. These stones are small. Yeah, and so they call them plaquettes. So they're just small, flat pieces of stone. Yeah, and so the fact that somebody has scratched that, it's essentially, it might as well be a doodle. Well, there's no arguing that it's a fish in a net, and there are hundreds of them. But these are small. Somebody scratching or people scratching things on little stones. It's for me, it was just reminiscent of our rough books when we were at school.
A realistic depiction, in other words, was not a choice. So making the fact that they'd supposedly made the choice to make these symbolic is a non-starter. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
But good.
But so, it is fascinating, though, that clearly, the people did like to do their little bits of art.
Well, it's not only that, but a depiction of fishing with nets. That's the good thing. That's the bonus. Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah.
But trying to interpret,
because where else have we seen carvings of net fishing? And that's Göbekli Tepe, which, granted, is a few thousand years
examples
later.
of net fishing. No, Çatalhöyük.
No,
net fishing at Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, do you remember the nets on the pillar?
No, I don't. I do beg your pardon. I stand corrected.
Oh, okay.
Obs. Yeah.
Indeed, yes, we photographed them. In fact, there's one set of the fishing net that Lee was pointing out was an imagery joke, not a joke, but it starts off that it's a fishing net and they become snakes. or a net,
Okay.
or a net of snakes. You could interpret it that way, but it's a net anyway.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, I was thinking of the nets that are seemingly used in hunting that are on the walls at Chapelhoek.
Yeah, they're painted rather than carved,
They're painted
aren't they?
rather
Yes,
than carved.
yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that one. Shall we move along to this is a study, and this article is written in the first person. So it's written by R. Alexander Bailey.
Bentley.
Bentley, I beg his pardon.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon, folks. So, title is Socially Distanced Layout of the World's Oldest Cities Helped Early Civilization Evade Diseases. As with all things, I'll be putting the link to all these articles that I'm taking this from in the description below. Eventually, it's not there now, don't look, because that gets done after this live is done. So I don't want to be reading it in full because it is quite fulsome. But do you think we're equipped to boil it down so people get the gist of where this is coming from, Rupert?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, and to be honest, we have commented on aspects of this quite independently in different contexts. The overall research here is about how you do see settlements growing significantly over time, and then suddenly being abandoned, and we've seen that a lot, particularly in Anatolia, because so many of the sites remain. But the essence of it is that as settlements build over time, particularly the style of building, and they've used Çatalhöyük as a good example here, where people basically, they're clustered very close together. They're living, basically, they're all living, on top of each other. And so the possibilities for disease to spread are significantly high.
Well,
you've got people living with animals.
So what has happened is, as people have settled into these areas, they're living closely also with animals for the first time. So zoonotic diseases, i.e. diseases that develop, when you've got animals, transmitting whatever they may have to humans in such close proximity that hitherto probably wouldn't have been an issue. But in these close circumstances, living with animals, the transmission of what are called zoonotic diseases can have an impact. Sorry, I just thought it wasn't just any old disease. It was the extra added thing of animals living closely.
Yes, barged in just when I was saying living with animals. But it doesn't matter. The interesting thing, though, I mean, whilst it's true that this paper looks particularly at zoonotic diseases, it is something that we've talked about before in terms of disease generally. I mean, it doesn't have to be zoonotic. You think of things that come from just human waste, apart from anything else. Sure. And the fact that that you've got waterborne diseases like typhoid and polio and Lord knows what. That. It's not really an enormous surprise that when settlements get so big that the potential for disease to spread quickly and thoroughly is enormous. And what they found was that, by contrast to settlement structures like Çatalhöyük, we get some of the circular or elliptical shaped settlements that are concentric. And it's really interesting in light of, we've been talking about rondels recently.
Yeah.
Why, for example, the question raised by the paper, why would settlement styles go from people living, in a very sort of almost urban sort of style of, real next door neighbors all on top of each other, why would it shift from that to being more circular or elliptical settlements where people are almost in rings? And what they've found in the research is that in people living in separate clusters, it actually means that when disease does arise, that it stays in pockets rather than spreading completely throughout the settlement. So it's a fascinating piece of research, really. They've taken this to, their conclusion is that this is why settlements will get to a certain size and then be abandoned. And, it does very much fall in line with what we've said a number of times in the past, different settlement areas where, why would you burn things down? This ritualized burning. And we've said many times that we think it's quite potentially to do with dealing with disease, cleansing a place before you rebuild, for example. And I think there's a lot of that going on in this as well. I don't know if you want to add anything.
The second centre of investigation are the settlements of the Tripilia culture in present-day Ukraine, Nebelivka and Mednetsky, which are mega. Again, I mean, we mentioned rondels earlier, but those are tiny. These are again mega settlements. And Rupert's quite right, about the concentric circles and the individual, settlement groups. There seem to be are arranged radially around the outside and sort of separated a bit from each other. So that was the main study from that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it seemed, but then the question is asked, what hit the Tripilia culture settlements, because they declined and were abandoned by 3000 BC. It looks likely that we've got something else occurring here, and that is Yersinia pestis.
Yes, we do like a bit of plague, don't we?
So these are not being cleared out by your zoonotic diseases and normal stuff. The possibility that they were wiped out by a straightforward pandemic I mean, Yersinia pestis is that black plague or is that something else?
Yeah, bubonics. Yeah,
bubonic. Yeah. And then we'll get into the whole business of because sorry, bang the microphone. You get into the whole business because it had previously been thought that the culture was overridden by steppe riders from the east, the riders from the east. But it's looking very likely that this the plague played a great deal, had a great impact on this whole thing. As a programmer from another time, maybe we should do some research on that and do a thing about that.
Well, it would certainly be an interesting thing to compare and contrast different types of large scale settlement. It would be an interesting thing to look at.
Another possibility that was mentioned is salmonella as well. Which is another grade of disease, and it can occur and spread with people living together. But it doesn't seem to have been quite the same case in the megasites of the what am I talking about here? Mentioned burning it in Mesopotamia, where you've got separation where the animals are and where the people are, and a certain amount of sanitation as far as water availability is concerned. So the same kind of fate didn't seem to befall the megasites of Mesopotamia and Egypt and the Indus Valley in China.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's quality irrigation that has made such an enormous difference everywhere.
Yeah, it mentions the canals in Uruk and water wells in Mohenjo-daro. Never heard of that. I just took that off the page there, I'm afraid. A large public bath at the Indus city of Mohenjo-daro. Wow. Watch this space.
Yeah. But that reminds me, though, of it was in London, going back a century-ish. I can't remember the chap's name, but the enormous amount of waterborne diseases like typhoid and what have you, and it was a local doctor who realised, just because he knew his patients, and he realised that the greater concentrations of the diseases cropping up were people around water pumps. So clearly it was the water that was causing the problem, and it was a major game changer, really, of actually getting people to look at cleaning water. And you do have to wonder, going back into prehistory, where and there'd be an awful lot of superstition attached to it, probably. But at what point in the development of a settlement do people actually understand that the problems are coming from the water? Because it's if you don't know, you don't know. It's an interesting one, that.
Can we just pay attention to a chat in the chat a moment? There seems to be a conversation about Yersinia pestis and rats and fleas and lice that I've been paying attention to. And the class says at the editing clothing conference in Halle, Andrew Kitchen mentioned that it required a population of 300,000 in regular contact for measles to not die out. Measles to not die out again. This gave enough babies not yet infected for measles to have continued to our day. 300,000, if I remember correctly. Thank you, class. God, it's fascinating. I think the impact is. I think a few researchers are doing good stuff in this regard. The effect of pestilence and disease on prehistoric populations. I suspect that there are some very deep gouges into population levels and the chronology of stuff that we probably are not as aware of as we should be, perhaps. Anyway, from diseases to wheels, I think. Leaving that alone for the time being. This is about where and when and why the first wheel may have been invented. First wheel was invented 6,000 years ago in the Carpathian Mountains, modelling study suggests. Okay.
I think it's important to underline that, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Done some computer modelling, and this is
yes, they haven't
this
made
is the conclusion.
Discovery on the ground.
Yeah.
This is a study that's been done on a desktop. Okay, but nevertheless, let's proceed and see where it gets to, because I'm going to read this or mostly in full, because it's a good, if you don't know anything about the history of the wheel, it's a very good overview. It says, even though the invention of the wheel around 6,000 years ago revolutionized everything from transportation to pottery making, its exact origins are still a mystery to archaeologists. But a new study using techniques from structural mechanics suggests that Eastern European copper miners may have been the driving force between three major innovations in wheel technology as early as 3,900 BC. Archaeological evidence of wheels and wheeled vehicles abound in the Copper Age, around 5,000 to 3,000 BC, across Europe, Asia and North Africa, including battle scenes painted on walls, miniature wheels, children's toys, wagon burials, and even early textual references to the technology. Because the wheel was adopted so quickly, though, it is unclear exactly where and when it was first invented, or if it was invented independently in different times and places. There are three main theories for the wheel's origin. One suggests that it first appeared in Mesopotamia around 4000 BC and then spread to Europe. Another theory suggests that it was developed around the Pontic coast of northern Turkey around 3800 BC. The third major theory argues that the wheel was invented in the Carpathian Mountains between 4000 and 3500 BC and spread in various directions from there. That next line means nothing. I think this third theory, put forward in 2016 by historian Richard Bulliet, I'm going to pronounce it Bulliet because I think he's not French but American, a professor emeritus at Columbia University and a co-author of the new study, rests on the idea that around 4000 BC, much sought-after copper had become harder to find, requiring miners to travel deep into mines and lug containers of ore back out. Late Copper Age wagon models that have been found in the Carpathian region are rectangular with trapezoid sides, similar to mining cars today. Bulliet wrote in the book The Wheel, Inventions and Reinventions. He wrote that in The Wheel, Inventions and Reinventions. In a study published on Wednesday, so this is current, this is up to date, in Royal Society Open Science, Bulliet and co-authors Kai James, an aerospace engineer at Georgia Tech, and Lee Alacock, an engineer previously at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, detailed their model of how the wheel likely evolved. Before I go any further, I'm just going to go on Google Maps because it's easy to talk about the Carpathian Mountains. But I'm just zooming in on there, round about the centre of the screen there. I think I'm right. East of Georgia. If that makes geographical sense to you. So a very fascinating area in the whole of prehistory and development of stuff. A crucial sort of area between Turkey and the steppe regions up here, Pontic steppe. Sorry, I digressed slightly. So getting back to that, excuse me. In their study, the researchers suggested that three innovations were needed for the wheel to evolve. Given the need to move a heavy basket or box, people likely used rollers placed along a path, moving the back rollers to the front as they're needed in rotation. The first innovation, that is grooved rollers, would have allowed the box to rest on the rollers and move back and forth without people having to walk round to replace the rollers. Now, words alone, that didn't make it clear to me what they were talking about. Fortunately, there's a diagram that makes it a bit clearer. And if you give me a second, I will bring it up for you. Not fish, and not buffalo, but that. What they're talking about is the illustration of the truck on the right there, where rather than the rollers having been replaced rolling underneath the box, that there is a recess for the rollers to slip into, so they're now become fixed to the box, and a groove in the roller to make sure that they don't go anywhere, laterally at least. Okay, so that's the first stage of the innovation. This may have allowed people to push a wider cart into the mine. The second innovation was a wheel set, or wheels fixed to an axle, which would have given the cart a higher clearance. So that's their sort of schematic of their imagined progression, where the outer bit, the bit outside the groove, gets bigger and turns into a wheel, thereby giving the truck greater clearance over whatever ground was being moved over. And the third innovation is where the wheels that have appeared on the end of the rollers actually become independent. And that, they say, likely arose about 500 years after the wheel set and was added maneuverability to the design, according to the paper. So I've read quite a lot of it. I'm not going to go any further with that because the essence of what they're doing is highly mathematical. And I looked at the paper, and there are lots of equations which I wouldn't begin to understand, unfortunately. Same goes for you, Rupert. So what we're offering to you there is the end result of, or the method that they used to try and confirm this theory. And, it's fine. It could be. But it ain't proof, is it?
No, I mean it's an interesting model to have kicked up, but I suspect that humans have seen things rolling for a very long time and probably used tree trunks for God knows how long. So personally, I do think that the wheel arose independently in a number of places, but then hey, we don't know, do we?
Wait a minute, did I get that wrong? Did I point to the wrong place for the Carpathians? Rupert, I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I'm afraid I don't know. What were you pointing at?
Absolutely bizarre. That is absolutely bizarre. And right, okay, I'm going to put that right. What the heck did that happen? Sorry. No, what we're talking about is, you're absolutely right, Slovakia and Romania. What the hell happened there? Okay. Consider that corrected, Rupert?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I confess I've got so many windows open, I didn't see where you were pointing in the first place.
Of course, that flipping... Oh, I see. Oh, you pay attention. That makes complete sense now. The copper coming out of the Balkan, Slovakia and Romania, up there at the time, that makes absolute sense. This is a centre of copper production. And actually puts a completely different complexion of the... yeah. So backtrack, everybody, backtrack. If this is early invention of the wheel in Eastern Europe, we've always assumed that it came more from the East, and so had I. Yeah.
Well, the oldest known wheel that they actually showed in the article, which is a fascinating thing to see. The oldest known wooden wheel to date is 5,200 years old, found in Slovenia.
Okay.
It kind of looks like a piece of flatbread, really.
Slovenia. Okay, so I'm looking very silly now, actually having placed it over there. I don't know what sort of warp, what got stuck in my brain there about where we were talking about. So I apologise to everybody for the mislead there. Like we say, a nice theory, and now I see its situation properly. Very interesting as to how that fits into what is known about the first wheels and wheel invention. Anything more to say about that before we move on, Rupert?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's an interesting idea on how the wheel might have developed in the first place. The shift, the transition from rollers to wheel. It's an interesting view of how that developed. Makes sense.
Okay. Next. That was a question.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is, and I'm going to have to rely on you for the pronunciation here because you were looking into the Serbian pronunciations of this. This is an 8,000-year-old dwelling discovered in. Where is it, Michael? Svinjari. You said it sounded like an L in there somewhere.
Svinjurchka. Svinjurchka. Chuka. That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm going to take your word for that.
That's as close as you're going to get. If anybody, with apologies to Serbians, all Serbians out there, Svinjurchka Chuka. That's the best I can do. Okay.
Well done. But this is interesting on a number of levels. It's a very short article, but
well, actually, we're probably talking at cross purposes because I've got a different. This is a different article on the screen than you've probably got. The article that you've got wouldn't parse to this reader view that I use, so I'm sourcing a different article. Maybe I should take it and read it.
Go for it.
Yeah. So a team of Austrian and Serbian archaeologists, led by the Austrian Academy of Sciences, has unearthed an 8,000-year-old rectangular dwelling in Svinjurchka Chuka, an area associated with the Stachevo culture, one of Europe's earliest farming societies. The Stachevo culture, which thrived between 6,200 and 4,500 BC, is part of the larger Stachevo-Koros-Krish cultural complex and played a pivotal role in the spread of agriculture from Anatolia to Europe. The discovery challenges long-standing theories about the early settlers of Europe previously thought of lived nomadic or semi-nomadic lifestyles. Now, this is great stuff for us, Rupert. Yeah? It puts it's another piece in the mosaic, another piece in the jigsaw, just opening this topic up and looking particularly at the Stachevo culture, because this stuff is crucial about the spread of farming practice and the people that is gradually spreading from Anatolia and Greece and up through the Balkans. And it's interesting the timing of the settlement that they're looking at, or the buildings that they found at this site. The dates of it coincides with stuff going on a bit further north, about 150 miles further north, in Serbia at Lipinski Vir. And this correlates with the time that the hunter-gatherers there are being displaced by farmers coming in, the early farmers coming into that place. We're looking forward to looking at Lipinski Vir as well, and because the archaeological record speaks to the actual changeover from the Mesolithic, from the hunter-gatherers to thing. But the point is here, they're establishing farmers in... The importance of this building is establishing the front wave of farmers settling down. This was a settlement site. This is not nomadic in any way. This establishes the Neolithic in this spot of settled farmers. And this is among the furthest back evidence you can get of the spread of farming into Europe. I think that's the significance of the site, isn't it?
They found all manner of tools and vessels there, including a significant number of storage vessels. Well, that's how they've interpreted these sizable vessels, anyway, for grains and seeds. And it is. It's just it's so nice when you can start pinpointing sites that were settled for significant periods of time, I don't know. I haven't read. I haven't actually gone to source paper, so I don't know if they got any estimates on how many people were living.
Well, I think they've only. It's only the single building that they've excavated.
Yes, but I mean,
so far.
if from the numbers of tools and storage vessels that they found, if they made any projections from that, probably not.
Okay.
But,
Joris asked, do we know about genetics? Was it displacement or absorption? And that is the thing at Lipinski Via, just up the road there. Just up the road. It's quite a way, actually. But that is the key. When I talked about, the archaeology, I was actually meant the genetics, that they have done the genetic study. And that's what I mean when I say we need to get, do the closer look. As Kate says, I think they're still arguing about that. So, again, this is going to be critical in Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge when we actually get to the Balkans, and when we speak words to camera about this, we've got to get this nailed. So, yeah. Getting all excited about Stachovo culture. Ha ha ha! Who ever thought?
Yes. I particularly like the fact they've found wicker.
I was just about to say, yeah. The dwelling, constructed from wickerwork, reinforced with wooden posts, was exceptionally well preserved due to a fire. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
You think the most destructive thing possible, and yet, that's it. Things reduced to carbon, they persevere. It seems. And here, the partially collapsed and burnt elements of the structure revealed overlapping floors, tools, and scattered vessels, both inside the house and in the outdoor area. Designated areas for food storage, grain, seeds. These were early farming communities that were not merely transient, but had developed a stable, sedentary lifestyle. I think that's as much as we need to say about that for the time being, don't you? But, at one level, the discovery of a single house doesn't seem that impactful. But on another level, it's so revealing, and is a significant building block in the knowledge of the progression of farming in the Neolithic. Anything else to say there, Rupert?
No, I think that's enough for now. It's same old, really. That it's early stages here, and if we see significant news, then we'll report back. But no, it's a fascinating discovery. So
I'm just going to show you a map of where we're talking about here. Let me just get rid of the Carpathian Mountains debacle thing. So there we go. The whole of the Balkans and Greece there, but the site we've just been talking about is right here, down sort of southeast Serbia. Lipinski Via is up here on the Danube, and guess where we're going next? Amazingly, is here. In Bulgaria, at a place called the Magura cave. So this is a video I'm going to run. I'm going to run VT on this one. Sorry, Rupert, you're going to say?
No. I was going to say. I was just going to say that it's only a couple of minutes long. So.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully, technically, this will work, and you'll get the sound in a moment when I put it full screen. Okay.
Got no sound, Michael. What's happening?
Still no sound there?
No.
Okay, so guys, yeah, Daniel, thank you. No sound, I get that. We may have to give this a miss, despite having tested it rigorously before it went live.
Yeah, it worked earlier.
It worked.
How bizarre.
Yes. Let me try. I'll just try once more because there may be something I'm missing here. But if I go to full screen here, and then do this, and then do this.
Magura Cave in Bulgaria is known for its unique prehistoric rock paintings.
No.
Some of them created more than
Yes, that's working.
6,000 years ago.
So,
It
Christina,
sounds-
what are they using to make all these incredible drawings? Because often when you're in caves,
Is the
it's
sound
almost
good,
like
or
red,
is
they're
it broken
using
up?
kind of red ochres and,
Yes.
and
To
other
me.
minerals.
Yeah,
Okay.
But this is much darker. What is it?
it's definitely not red ochre.
Although-
It's actually guano.
Hang on, because guano is bat poo.
That's bat poo, and you're currently standing on more than 2 meters of bat poo.
No way. I thought it was just like soft rock. So hang on.
Although
you
we're
say
not getting
2
the whole
meters?
screen, actually.
Or more.
It's a
It's the
section.
most natural material.
Yeah, well, I guess, because I mean, we've seen so many bats here. So it sort of makes sense. This is a bat's cave, and they're just using what they can because it's here.
Exactly.
Can you see
other
the full
thing
screen
as well
now?
is you really get this sense of progression.
Yeah,
of
with
the
the
narrative.
links
It's
by the
almost like
side.
there's
But
a
yes,
sort
we
of,
can see all of it.
comic book rolling out in front of you.
The geometry of the cave actually allows for a narrative. With every single step, you see a different chapter.
And so this is the climax. So what are they celebrating?
It's most likely the end of the agriculture season. They're celebrating collecting the crops. They're celebrating having security and surviving the winter.
I mean, what you see a lot, so like here you've got them, it's very clearly a male and a female figure. So is there, I don't know, is there some kind of marriage ritual being represented?
Even as far-fetched as it sounds, one of the theories is that the young couple comes here as individuals, as single people. They come together, they go through the journey together, arriving here, painting their portraits, and coming to the outside world as a union.
You see, it's so remarkable, isn't it? What you're saying, probably around 7,000
Yes.
years old.
That's
I mean, that's 3,000 years before the pyramids are built. But they're going through the same things that we do, because relationships are hard, but there's this whole kind of cave theatre, and then people can emerge stronger and work out how to be together up above.
Yeah, and you can see it as a task. Whoever actually reaches that point, they deserve to be together.
It's a strange place down here, but it has its own beauty too.
Exactly. And that's why we try to appreciate it as much as possible.
We do. Us and our trusty, exhausted assistant. You can tell he feels at home. Amazing. It's so brilliant you brought me down. Thank you so much. It's really special. It is unique, strange and beautiful.
Definitely.
Apologies that didn't run as smoothly as we would have liked. We did test that before, but
It's funny.
unfortunately,
It was fine on the test, wasn't it? Amazing. Never mind.
yeah.
Never mind.
Never mind.
The thing
Sorry,
that
go on,
fascinated me most about this is that, and it's what I was hinting at and not spoiling at the beginning of the program, was that this art is done with guano, with using bat droppings as paint, if you like. And I've never come across that before. Have you?
No. Ochre, and ochre. But guano, no.
Yeah, I mean minerals of whatever, but guano, no, I've not known of that before. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we slipped that in not because it's news. Obviously, that's pre-recorded and is from some time ago. And anyway, the Magura caves have been known about for ages and ages. Actually, by the way, just to, for a little bit of context, no, not wheels, but that is where the Magura caves are. Look at that. No, now, is it any surprise that it's a special place? I think that looks a bit augmented, but I promise you, I've seen other photographs as well that it is a spectacular place. And they've taken them, in latterly, there's been other buildings and other goings on around this place, and the caves are up there. See that path winding up the side? The caves are in there with these drawings. So it's not just any old cave. This location, as the estate agents say, location, location, location. Absolutely stunning. And no reason why we shouldn't go there while making Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge. Folks watching on Patreon, do bear with me because I'm going to do a bit of a number on Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge. Our Patreon friends are already supporting us and supporting us finally. Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge, for those that don't know, is a separate project that we've undertaken. The thing is, we want to tell you a story. We want to tell you the story of the people that we've just been talking about, with the last couple of sites. The story of the early farmers of Europe, the descendants of the farmers that came across the Aegean Sea into Greece from Anatolia and made first footfall in Greece and spread up the Balkans and across the Mediterranean. And that's the essential driving force of Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge, which will be eventually a series of films that strung together, or that will viewed together, will give an incredible view of our heritage, if you like, in terms of civilization in the West, of those first pioneer farmers spreading across Europe and eventually up to the Wiltshire Plains and Stonehenge. We've already started, thanks to the generosity of a good many people. We've already been to Turkey. We've filmed at Göbekli Tepe. We've filmed at Çatalhöyük and a couple of other places there. But now our attention, and also we've already filmed in Brittany, for example. We've filmed at Stonehenge, and in fact, that'll be the next output from the series. Will be a film, our view of Stonehenge. But the next thing we want to undertake is to go to Greece, to tell the bit of the story of the first footfall in Greece that the early farmers made across the Aegean. The first place they landed was Crete. We want to go to Crete. The driving force for that crossing of the ocean, or one of the contributing factors to the crossing of the ocean, was the trade in obsidian. Where did the obsidian come from? The island of Milos, one of the Cycladic islands there. We want to go to Milos to show you that. One of the most fantastic archaeological sites in the whole world is a place you've probably never heard of, Frankfurt Cave in southern Greece, that contains a chronology of occupation right from the Mesolithic through the Neolithic into the Bronze Age and even beyond. We're concentrating on the Neolithic because that is the place in Greece that has the first evidence of farming, believe it or not. And then there's other places in Greece we want to show you as well as things go north. But to do that, we need your help. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, links below in the description. If you can come there, help us out by buying one coffee. Only cost you £5 sterling per coffee. Is that the going rate, do you think, Rupert, for a coffee?
Yeah, just cheaper.
Not far off. But anyway, a coffee in this world costs £5. You can buy one. You can buy as many as you like. But your help will get us to tell that story, and it's a largely unknown one. As you probably gather, we're excited about developing this story because it's one untold. It doesn't depend on big monuments and monoliths and megaliths and stuff, but it's a story of people, and that's what we're most interested in. So if we can ask for your help in doing that, we intend to do this anytime April or after April next year. We need to raise a £3,500 in order to do that. So your help getting us to achieve that goal, we'd be very grateful. As I say, have a look at the Göbekli Tepe Stonehenge page on Buy Me a Coffee. See what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for bearing with me. Patreon folk are already supporters in so many ways. But
yes,
deep gratitude if you can help us to achieve our goal of going to Greece next year. And that's all I need to say about that. Don't you think, Rupert?
Well said, that man. Well said.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Shall we move swiftly along?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you'll have to take this because my screen has momentarily disappeared. If you can start reading or framing this up.
I shall.
While I get my...
This is a lovely piece of research, actually, that apparently... amber was, the article says, amber was so coveted 5,000 years ago, people made fake versions of it. I'm not going to read that top bit. It kind of references Jurassic Park.
We can't see it, Rupert, because it's not teed up in my thing. That's why I'm trying to get it up there.
Yes, these researchers have referenced Jurassic Park and trapped insects and extracting DNA, but we don't need to go there. Basically, you know that amber has always been a very prized and popular material for making jewelry, and even isolated, individual beads found in burials where there were probably beads attached to drawstrings on bags or shrouds, whatever. But apparently, it says long before we understood how it was created, the shiny, mesmerizing material was a symbol of wealth, processed into beads, jewelry, and other fashion accessories. As shown by a new study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science, it was so coveted that in places where it was scarce, recipes for faux imitation amber emerged to meet rising demand. It's I will read it to you, even though I'm telling you what you already know. Amber, you didn't pay attention during biology class or Jurassic Park, is essentially fossilized tree resin formed over a minimum of 40,000 years. My own collection is actually 50 million years old, but there you go. Anything from 40,000 years onwards. Many vascular plants around the world secrete resin from the dense inner parts of their trunks to protect themselves from infections and wounds caused by insects or exposure to the elements. For centuries, amber's origin remained a mystery. Demostratus, an Athenian orator from the 2nd century BC, referred to the material as lincurium, as it was commonly believed to originate from the urine of lynxes, a belief that persisted into the Middle Ages, depicted in illuminated manuscripts. I must admit that I didn't know that. Thales of Miletus, or Miletus, a natural philosopher who lived during the 6th century BC, was surprised to learn that when rubbed against a piece of cloth or animal fur, amber would attract lightweight objects like feathers. In his text, Natural Faculties, the Greco-Roman physician Galen, too, noted the material's magnetic properties. At various points in history, people believed that amber came into being when rays of sunlight touched the surface of the sea, that it possessed magical qualities capable of curing madness and infertility, and that it was a token of good fortune. Above all, amber's shiny, translucent consistency and warm orangey colour made it a popular material for jewellery. Amber earrings, necklaces and charms have been found all across the world, including in places where the material did not naturally occur, such as the Iberian Peninsula. Upon closer inspection, amber beads recovered from this area, made between the 5th and 2nd millennium BC, turned out to be faux amber made from non-fossilized pine resin, beeswax and linseed oil joined together with a glue of boiled collagen or bone. I just think that's funny that to make fake amber, they were actually using basic amber in the first place. According to Carlos Odriozola, a professor of the Department of Prehistory and Archaeology in the University of Seville and co-author of the study, these imitation beads featured a pattern that was repeated from one end of the peninsula to the other and maintained for a millennium. As such, the researchers believe that amber forgery must have been more common than previously thought. The quantity and geographic distribution of the beads suggests that the existence of a complex social structure, complete with specialized crafts and wealth disparities. It was a time in history when appearance began to be very important. Another co-author, Jose Angel Garrido, also from the University of Seville, told Spanish newspaper El País. It follows the same logic as someone who drives a Ferrari on the streets today, Odriozola added. Yeah, if you like. But it is interesting when you think of the amount of amber that has been pulled out of burials over however long, burials from different millennia. That to find that they were making fake amber is, it's reminiscent of the torques, isn't it? The gold torques, the chunky neck pieces or armbands and the like. That the amount of them that were actually hollow and filled with wax to make them feel heavy, to make them feel like they were the real thing, but they were just cheap imitations. Cheap. Hollow gold as opposed to solid. It just reminded me of that people were really going to a lot of trouble to make fake precious materials.
Apologies for the tech issues there, and apologies for the showing of so many Yves Saint Laurent adverts in that. For some reason, the browser decided it was not going to be helpful and eradicate all the ads and stuff. So I don't know what was going on there. Apologies. Yeah, interesting. And the reminder is that this is a Spanish study. It's focused in Iberia. My question is, well, if you took this, does this exist elsewhere? It can't be surely, just contained in this region. Amber being so valuable, there are always those likely to fake it. Did we get a time scale on this? 5,000? I mean, you've got a very broad time scale on this.
5,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
Or the second millennium BC. But it's interesting because
forever in the Neolithic, in other words.
Yeah. But Jonas has pointed out that Pliny the Elder stated that it was likely hardened resin, and the thing is that you do have to wonder what they were thinking. What surprised me about this was that even here, so I've got running around outside the house. I've got a covered sort of patio area where the beams are pine, and even though they are, I think they were put up 60, 70 years ago, and they still in hot weather they sweat resin, and and so I can pick off sticky bits of pine resin, and you look at it and you say, well, there you go, that's amber. So the fact that albeit not fossilized, what I mean. So as Joris says there, that if Pliny 2,000 years ago said that he thought it was hardened resin, I find it really strange that in Spain, where they've got any number of coniferous trees, that anybody who was calling it lynx urine. I find that.
Oh, don't beat about it. Lynx piss.
Lynx piss. That's just bizarre, isn't it?
I can't go back to it because Safari's lost it again.
How bizarre!
It's disappeared off my screen. It's nothing to do with me, guys. It's very strange. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the question: myth versus
Yeah, it was Demostratus, an Athenian orator, called it Lincurium. Well, again, Greece. It's not like they won't have any number of resinous trees all over the place. It's just an odd thing to not put two and two together there. But there you go. Maybe that's just modern thinking.
All right. Shall we move on to the last article of the day, folks? Bringing it home a bit. We've been all over the place, haven't we? The nearest we've been so far is Iberia, but we're coming to Cornwall. Yay! Yeah. We know Cornwall. we know Bodmin Moor to a certain degree.
We do.
So King Arthur site, 5 times older than thought. We'll have words to say about that as we go on. A historic site in Cornwall linked to King Arthur, by whom, has been found to be up to 5 times older than previously thought after a new survey was carried out. Historic England said the findings of the dig at King Arthur's Hall on Bodmin Moor were the first to confirm the site dated back to prehistoric times. The monument was previously listed as dating back to the medieval period. Right, stop right there. I couldn't find any reference to it dating, it being listed as in the medieval period. I think they found something, referencing an idea somebody had once, that it may have been a medieval cattle enclosure, and thought, well, that's good because that gives the headline of site 5 times older than previously thought. Okay, that's a maybe naughty BBC editor.
Maybe.
It may be, yeah. Anyway, it's now believed to date back 4,000 years earlier. Though what medieval they're talking about, to get back to their dates are wrong. Their numbers they need looking at. To the Neolithic period by a group of specialists from UK universities. Dr. Tim Kinnaird from the University of St Andrews said the findings were a major revelation. He said archaeologists... Go on.
Sorry, go on. No, I was just going to say I found that interesting, that because there's it'll sound arrogant, and I apologise, but there's a lot of us who we always thought that it was prehistoric, and so to have Tim Kinnaird from St Andrews saying that the findings were a major revelation,
it's not just us. It's not just us. Dear Julian.
Well,
in the megalithic antiquarian. Where is it? Page...
Julian. And Andy.
Exactly. King Arthur's Hall. Neolithic, because it's got standing stones and stuff. Fair enough. There hadn't been an archaeological excavation there, but the zeitgeist has been King Arthur's Hall belongs...
Yeah, Andy has it as prehistoric. I find the article quite strange. But be that as it may, the nice thing is that they've actually done some excavations and they've confirmed it. So that's the significant thing here, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. It says it's extremely exciting. We'll be finally able to date the construction of this enigmatic monument, previously grounded in myths and legends, he said. I think that's the point, isn't it? Just nailing it now for once, and having a proper archaeological excavation, because, look, it doesn't reference this picture in the actual text itself, but what on earth is going on there? That isn't natural layers of rocks on Bodmin Moor. That looks deliberately constructed, and they're going down on it. What is going on? It represents a lot of work Because on the face of it, if you visit, and we haven't visited it. We've been close, but we haven't actually visited it. It's just occurred as a square ditch with a marshy interior. But look at, and I've failed to mention how many standing stones around it, alternating
around
short
the
and
perimeter.
long.
I don't remember how many, but
I think
quite
it's
a
in the
few.
region of 40, but I stand to be corrected. Historic England said there had been speculation the site dated back to prehistoric times because of its standing stones. Quite right. But the new survey was the first to confirm this. So, and it's not surprising, really, because the whole thing... 56, thank you. Because the thing stands on Bodmin Moor amongst a complex of other Neolithic monuments, stone circles, particularly triplet stones, Lear's, King Arthur's Down stones, which are no longer with us, unfortunately, and it's in sight of Rautor, which we do know. We climbed up Rautor in Standing with Stones.
We did.
Rautor has been inhabited for a long, long time. But the thing about King Arthur's Stone is that it's completely unique as a monument from this time in this country. I think even the similar sites on the continent, I think there's one in Brittany, for example, which you'd naturally leap to the Neolithic, but I think that's actually dated to the Bronze Age. So dating this one to the Neolithic, I have to say, it looks to me like the footings of a house, of a dwelling. Maybe a big man or chieftain.
Well, and it's estimated that whilst there are 56 still there, they reckon that there could have been up to 140. Which, that's a lot of stones. So it probably is the footings of a significant structure.
Yeah. So I look with excitement to what comes out of the study. What report comes from this. What detail they've been able to get from this, because it looks a bit more sophisticated, way more sophisticated than you'd think from a surface glance at King Arthur's Hall. I'd love to know if those standing stones are the footings for timbers. I just would, for many, many reasons. And so we look forward with bated breath to that. On that, Bodmin Moor brings us to the end of this edition of the Prehistory Guys Unplugged. Guys, thank you so much for being with us and for all your words. Joris, thank you for keeping things interesting in the chat there.
Yes.
Putting us right on certain things. I'm sorry we haven't been paying attention so much to the chat and to the input that you've been giving there. Okay, brilliant. A learned man, has to be said. Rupert, anything to say before we go, mate?
No, other than thanks for sticking around, folks. Don't forget, if you're watching the recorded version of this, do please like and subscribe. And we're trying to get our numbers to 100,000 by the end of this year, and we're on 90 at the moment.
I think by the end of this,
let's get there.
I think by the end of this year is a tall order unless we get a big...
It probably is, but we've still got to aim for it.
Still got to aim for it, but it's inevitable. But sooner rather than later. I just want the plaque on the back wall, that's all. Yeah. So, do hit the like and subscribe. The subscribe one is the important thing. Gosh, you have seen, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably have the chat running. You'll see the chat from our lovely people who support us on Patreon. They've been the only ones that have been able to see this live. So if you want to join them, you can join for free. You can just pop over to Patreon and join for free, get some of the benefits of being a Patreon member. But those that give us $5 a month or more get loads more, including their very own podcast on a weekly basis. Would you believe it? And of course, the whole archive of stuff going back for years.
Yeah.
So there's loads of stuff on there to look at. Have a look at the Patreon page, link below. And as I said earlier, waxed lyrical about Göbekli Tepe, Stonehenge. There's a link to that too down there. Do have a look. That's it from me.
Well done.
We'll,
Thank you, everybody.
see you very soon. Cheers for now.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.